let me just pause here and say, I don't know. These people make six figures sound like. I just don't understand. I feel like these people, not them, just people talk about six figures feel like people who've never had much. And so, like, this idea that six figures is so much money is like absolutely bizarre to me. And the fact that you're going to accept someone cheating on you and doing all kinds of things for six figure, it doesn't make sense to me. Now, I recognize that particularly in the African American community, but generally, the average income is far less than over 100K. Like, I get that. Hey guys, welcome back to Themis and Thought. Grab your coffee, water, tea, whatever you're drinking, go and get that. Today we're going to be digging into the manosphere a little bit more. This is what, episode 3? So I told you I was gonna do this series. It has been getting a lot of both positive and negative feedback. So let's continue to dig into it. Oh, this is ginger, by the way. It's pretty good. And good for you, apparently. Don't know. Love it. All right. So, when we talk about the manosphere, it's very difficult to communicate with people. And the reason is I think everyone has their different ideas about what the manosphere is. And I think fundamentally, right, the manosphere seemed to have been started as a way for men, particularly black men in the Black Manosphere, to come together and talk about things that are on their mind. And I don't think there is anything innately wrong with that, right? I think community of men have always come together and tried to uplift each other and hopefully uplift the community if they are to be considered the leader. Unfortunately, what we see time and again is this deviation from self and self reflection towards blaming in some areas of the manosphere. And I think that's something that we need to talk about. But also requirements for their mates and what women should be. And so, as someone who does not give relationship advice, I like questioning things and I like thinking in depth about the implication of ideas. And some of the ideas that we get from the manosphere, I think, is harmful, but beyond being just straight up harmful, I think and I question whether or not they're conflicting. And to the extent that they're not conflicting, are they again going back to the first idea of harmful? And one of these ideas is about submission. And we're going to talk today about the quote, high value man, and that amorphous term that becomes anything anyone wants. The one constant about the high value man, right? And I had an argument on a live stream the other day about what it means to be high value, right? And the one constant that comes through from the manosphere, the one kind of agreement that they have is the amount of money that this person should make. And so when we add other elements to it, obviously we can create an archetype of a man that is good, right? But I mean, as a general matter, if everyone is talking about this and the one constant, unless we can decide who gets to define this, then we are going to have to try to figure out what is the thread that binds all of these ideas around the high value man together. And that one thread seems to be money. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to watch a video, right? Let me cue this video. It's from the Fresh and Fit podcast. Now, we already watched a video where people from the roommates, Hafiz particularly, was on talking about women should not want independence. And I think this might explain why these kinds of men don't want women to have independence, right? So we're going to do this, and I'm going to talk about some ideas around our culture that I think is important. So let's watch some of the video, and I will be pausing and interrupting because that's what I do. So if you guys want to watch the entire video, please go and do that. But this is not just to watch the video, it is to critique. So I do butt in a lot. Apologies in advance if that is strange for you.
Was successful, I could pay for your life, basically pay all your bills, but he may cheat because he has options. Or a guy that works a regular job, maybe a little bit boring, but he would never cheat. Who would you choose, and then why? We'll start.
That's a good question.
Yeah, we'll start. I guess right here.
Me?
Hey, would you? Yeah, you.
Okay. I prefer a guy with a regular job. Boring. I'm a really fun person. I'll make him better. And why? Because we could both grow together and become that millionaire together.
I'm sorry. Why are you lying? It's the first question of the show. Why are you lying?
Where's the cat?
Would you rather have a Ferrari that works 3 days a week or a push bike that's always there waiting for you? You're gonna drive the Ferrari.
So again, I don't know who this man is. I probably should have looked him up. I intentionally didn't look him up. But this idea that I would prefer a Ferrari, or that someone would prefer a Ferrari because it is, quote, a better car in terms of acceptability in modern culture versus a reliable, less valuable car that works every day, doesn't make sense to me. It seems like there are groups of people who would prefer the Ferrari that only works a couple times a week, but if you are in fact trying to get places and do things, you might actually want the car that is of lesser value. This is not hard to dismantle. I'm bringing it up because I want to contrast it, or rather compare, because it's not a contrast. It explains an earlier video that I did concerning the roommates on this same podcast talking about women not wanting independence and women should be utterly dependent on a man when they're in love. I think this explains why they want it, and I'll get into it in a bit. So let's continue because there's a lot to watch.
Why are you lying? Don't lie to us. This is supposed to be a show of honesty.
Yes.
Show us your boyfriend now. I bet, is he a dork? Come on, come at me with these lies. My detector's flawless.
I'm on the floor.
Perfect. Okay, what's your pick?
To be honest, yeah, like I would pick a guy who had a normal job that would not cheat. Because in a relationship, I do prefer loyalty. I have that.
But what makes you think that he's not gonna cheat?
He makes 6 figures, and like I'm still super happy, and he never leave a house. He's always home.
How do you define loyalty?
Doesn't talk to other women, doesn't entertain anybody else other than me.
Okay, so fidelity is how you define loyalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you why that construct's all messed up. And girls, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, right? So I've been to 72 countries, I've been all around the world.
Okay.
The idea of how men and women work in the West is completely different to most
All
places.
right. By the way, I'm going to pause it for him there. I like the fact that he wanted to give himself authority. You ask these women how they define loyalty, and they define it through fidelity, not cheating on them. And then you're going to dismiss their ideas around loyalty based on your observation around the world, which, mind you, is still anecdotal unless you've met enough people to make it generalizable, which I highly doubt he has. So it is interesting that you ask them about their experience and then you go on to sort of dismiss it and explain why you are an authority on what women should want, even though we have women telling you what it is that they want. And to be fair, some people might want security financially over security in terms of fidelity. Like that is definitely could be the case. But again, let's continue. I'm trying to wrap my thoughts up quickly to get to the point.
If you go to Russia and you find a hot, beautiful woman with a big mafia boss, do you think that dude is loyal to her?
Negative.
No, of course not. No. So do you know what he says? I take care of her. She drives a Bentley. She has my children. I know she's looked after. She doesn't hassle me if I go play games with stupid hoes because I come back to her. And she's like, okay, cool. Well, he takes care of me. It's done. That's how it's done in 99% of the world besides the USA. If you think you're going to find a man with options who's going to genuinely, never, ever consider those options ever, then he's just a low value dude. That's the reality of the game. The reality of the game
No.
is if the guy
I don't know how you're defining low and high value. The ability to control oneself, I consider to be of the utmost importance and value in a society. If we as a group acted on every single urge that we have, then we would literally be in chaos right now. We have laws in place to prevent humans from acting out their sort of base desire, right? The idea that you cannot control yourself, or rather, the idea that the lack of control of one's self in order to, I don't know, quote, exercise your option. If you cannot control yourself, right, that should not be what makes you high value. Now, I'm not trying to co-opt their term. The manosphere can keep the term high value, and they can utilize it how they want. But self-control is of the utmost importance. It is needed in all areas of life, except in a relationship. Like, what? That does not compute to me. Again, these are not, and I think rewatching some of my video, unfortunately, I think that a lot of people in the comments might think this is somehow advice. I'm not trying to give advice. What I'm doing is critiquing ideas and talking about kind of how inconsistent some of these ideas in the manosphere is. I don't shame people, women particularly, for wanting to date a high value man. I think that is great. If you can catch them, do that, be with them. But these mouthpieces for what a high value man is and wants seem to be counterintuitive. Like the idea that you think that a mafia boss in Russia somehow fits the definition of a high value man is concerning to me. Right? Again, we get back to this idea that these people really do believe that money is what defines the high value man, because if one person is talking about rappers and entertainers cannot be high value, you only need to be corporate to be high value, mafia bosses are now high value. If all of these things are true, then high value doesn't have any meaning outside of money. And I do recognize that these are different people talking about different ideas around high value, but the people who are consuming are also consuming these different ideas. And so without any sort of cohesion on how we define high value, I think it is up for grabs, right? Like we are left to define it how we want. It has no meaning. It really doesn't.
Has choices, he's going to consider those choices. I know it's unfortunate, right? But I'm telling you, a man can be head over heels in love. I can love you with all my heart. I can be ready to die for you, take a bullet for you. But I'll still fuck that bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But this is where you get confused.
By the way, I do agree with him. I think human beings are capable of love while cheating. I think that is possible. This is why, by the way, I don't define love in this way, but it's about commitment and ability to keep your commitment. So his definition is not necessarily inconsistent with their idea of love, right? Like you can love someone and then go out and engage in activities that would be counterintuitive to what someone would believe love should be. I don't have a problem with this idea, but there are consequences to doing that, I believe. So, I mean, again, it comes back to self-control and whether or not you have it.
Women show their love through sexual loyalty. They show their love through sexual exclusivity. A man shows his love other ways.
Yes.
So when you see a man who's crying over the girl he lost because he cheated, and they're like, why is he crying? He loves me. He doesn't love me. Yes, he does. He loves you. Why are girls tripping over him fucking so?
Not the gendered approach. So I take back everything that I said, because apparently for him, women don't cheat. And to the extent that women don't cheat, they don't love. But men can cheat when they're in love. So I think the general consensus in the society is similar to that, where we have socialized women to be kind of protective of their sexuality, right? And to be protective not only of their own, but also to police men's sexuality, because it's just so much and men cannot control themselves. And so men can be in love with a woman and want to. The reality is both genders like sex to some degree, right? And there are some men who like it way more than some women, and there are some women who like it way more than some men. And so there are women who can engage in sexual activities without actually being emotionally attached. And this is where he's getting. So unless he's saying that both men and women can be in a relationship and cheat without actually loving the other person that they cheat with, and in fact loving their actual partner who they cheated on, I mean, I'm not going to agree with that, because I think it can happen both. I think it really can happen both ways. But again, I'm not a relationship expert, so this is based on sort of conjectures about relationship that I have noticed in our society, and people who have talked about it who are more educated than me in this area. But anyway, I think whatever.
He came back to you. Who cares about that bitch? He doesn't care about her. Why do you care about her?
I have a question.
I mean, you can talk about caring about STDs and all kind of other things, right? Like the embarrassment if it comes out. Like, people don't necessarily have to care about the cheating itself, which I think you should care about. Like, if you've set the parameters of your relationship and he's breaching those parameters by cheating on you, then that's not just cheating. There is loyalty, trust, commitment that is being breached. But to the extent that you're okay with him cheating, then there is a problem about social acceptance and embarrassment, right? And I mean, let me be honest. I hate being embarrassed by people who are close to me. Let me just leave it there.
You're saying that who cares, but if the roles were reversed, it becomes a whole problem.
Of course it would.
But
Why?
Absolutely. I'll tell you
If
why.
you can cheat, I should cheat too. You know, like I should play around.
Okay. I prefer a guy that makes 6 figures. I don't care who he's seeing, because at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I want anyways.
Okay. Gabrielle?
I don't like sharing. So if you're gonna cheat, I'm gonna cheat too. That's
same.
that's the only way I'm keeping a 6-figure guy. If you gonna sleep around, I need to have my own options as well. That's the only way it's gonna work. Otherwise, no.
All right. Okay. Your turn.
I completely agree with Andrew. If you know,
You see what I'm saying?
I'm saying.
Let me just pause here and say, I don't know. These people make 6 figures sound like I just don't understand. I feel like these people, not them, just people talk about 6 figures feel like people who've never had much. And so, like, this idea that 6 figures is so much money is like absolutely bizarre to me. And the fact that you're going to accept someone cheating on you and doing all kinds of things for a 6 figure, it doesn't make sense to me. Now, I recognize that particularly in the African American community, but generally, the average income is far less than over 100K. Like, I get that. But as someone who doesn't, like, I don't want to give too much away. So let me just sit in this and let us stew in this. I don't understand how anyone would take disrespect from someone just by virtue of them making 6 figures. I don't understand this obsession with that particular number. Now, if you say high 6 figures, then okay, we can talk about like what that means, but especially the low 6 figures, this is not it. This is kind of looking ridiculous and desperate because it's just not it.
If a guy's taking care of me, you know, can handle what he's doing, at the end of the day, I'm gonna be driving that Ferrari. I'm gonna be getting money. I'm gonna be going, buying Gucci. You feel me?
All right,
I'm gonna be happy.
I already know who you're going home with.
Okay.
Your turn?
I agree too, because I feel like I don't know, like I want someone to be faithful, but like I want to be taken care of as well. So I'll go with that too.
Okay.
6 figures for me.
Okay, 6 figures. All right.
Ms. Vietnam?
Yes, I agree 100%. I prefer a man who makes 7 figures.
Okay, 7. Okay.
But I don't really consider it cheating if he's successful in exercising his options. You know, men can fuck other people and still be in love with you, but women can't.
She nailed it. Before we go to the couch, sorry, she nailed it. It's not the word cheating. It's the wrong word.
It's not cheating.
Because it's cheating if you're like, I really like this other girl. If you catch your man and he's completely in love with some other girl, then yeah, that's cheating. If he has a second relationship, yeah, that's cheating. If he comes home and he smells a pussy and he's like, who was that girl? And he's like, I don't even fucking know. Sorry, I don't even know. It's exercise. Who cares? Like, if he doesn't care, why would you care? That's not cheating.
All right. So the thing is, I think for a lot of people, they might think, oh, Themis is problematic. I am not. I think you get to structure your relationship how you want to structure your relationship. In my eyes, I don't see a problem. If you want to be with someone who is going to have sexual interactions and intercourse with other people, then do you. You know yourself and sort of how you can figure that out, and you should be able to navigate your own relationship. Look, again, I don't care. I don't have a problem with this. I feel like women should be able to structure their own relationship. And if you want to be taken care of, right, and you don't want to economically provide for yourself, then go and be with someone who's going to do that for you. And to the extent that you're okay with him cheating, then I guess you have more options, because I think more men are willing to be with women who are, I guess, gonna allow them to. I mean, it is weird, it is strange that this is what men want, but if they want it and you're willing to do it, perfect peer apparently. But I this idea that every woman wants this is what bothers me. Because as you can clearly tell, the women on the left are completely opposed to this. And the women on the right seem to be very into it. This means there is a woman for you. Like there are men who want to be out there and engaging in sexual activity and do not like the idea of self-control and limiting their access to all kinds of women, particularly if you've made a ton of money. And 6 figures is not it. Anyway, let me leave 6 figures alone. So for that, at lower 6, but that I get it. I completely understand. And to that, there are people out there for you. Like the women on the right, even though they seem to be kind of apprehensive, except one of the ladies who said, I didn't even think this was cheating. They're there. Like, go for them. Don't shame the other women into submission. Like, you got your cake and you can eat it too on the right. On the left, they're not going to abide. So I don't understand this, right? But let me continue, because I do want to bring up something that I think is super important.
Well said. You got another point?
The way I see it, it's just, it could either be automated or somebody else could take care of it if he's out on the road doing whatever.
Cool.
That's it.
And then ladies on the couch.
Right. So Andrew, back to what you were saying. I'm sorry to cut you off, baby. I didn't mean to do that. But I just have to say, like, that's where it comes, where respect is and communication.
Yep.
If you communicate with me, we're good.
Yep.
Now don't overbound it though.
Yep.
That's where we're gonna have problems.
Yep.
But we're gonna be good. So as long as you communicate with me, we good. So it doesn't matter what you make. I'm down for you.
No, see, and I respect that, because that's the healthy way to do it, right?
Right.
If you're a man and you're lying, then you're a punk. If you're gonna come home and lie to the girl you care about over some dumb bitch, then yeah, you're a punk, right? But if you come home and say, look, I was out last night, I was acting crazy, there was girls in the house, I fucked some girl, I don't know her fucking name, she ain't got my number, if she messaged me on Insta, I blocked her, who gives a shit, right? Let's go for dinner.
Move on.
Yeah, your tits are better, who gives a shit? Let's get the fuck out of here. Then it is what it is, right? It is what it is. But if you're gonna sit there and go, no, I didn't touch her, I promise I didn't do it. This is where most men make the mistake. Most men make the mistake because they just lie. And when you lie, you look like a coward. You look weak, right? Mm-hmm. And if your woman really, truly respects you, she's going to be angry. She might cry. She might be upset. But if she truly respects you as a man and you truly look after her, she ain't fucking leaving. Why would she leave the big boss who looks after her over some fucking stupid shit that happens a couple times a fucking year? Who gives a fuck?
The big boss, man.
The big boss. That ain't happening.
All right.
Slim.
So, I'm not going to say toxic masculinity. There is this kind of performative nature, I think, when it comes to how these men talk about women and talk about relationship and talk about what it is that they want. And I feel like for a lot of these men catch them in a relationship and they might be singing a very different tune, especially if they're quote unquote in love with the person that they're talking to. We have to recognize that a lot of men, particularly in the hip-hop community and the kind of YouTube community of men who are teaching about high value. We have to recognize that a lot of these men did not grow up in wealth. They didn't grow up in like an upper middle class, even a middle class. Like a lot of these people rose from nothing, right? And that is to be commended. Like I will not take, in a capitalistic world, I'm not going to take you being a good capitalist away from you, right? If that's what we value, that's what we value. So you've risen to the ranks, right? And a lot of these men would not have the kinds of access to these women, right? A lot of these men don't even know how to conduct themselves in professional settings. Even people who are wearing these suits, right? And talking about, oh, Black men aren't seen in suits in the ways that they are looking at you now. So it's something new. Like the fact that you sit down with your jacket, right, buttoned, indicate to anyone who has any sort of experience in the realm of just not even rich, but like upper class. So the people know that this is not, like you are not off that group, and that you are there now, I think should be about learning and changing your mentality and teaching mentality, as opposed to trying to indulge in excess, right? Indulge in excess from the chains, the cars, the suits, to even women as sort of objects to be consumed and disposed of. But because these men weren't exposed in this way, and because most of these men would not have had access to these women but for their money that they have and popularity, because some of them have popularity and not money, right? There is this need to sort of prove themselves and treat these women poorly and take advantage, because they know, I think for a lot of these men, there is an understanding that this woman is only with me because of my money. And because of that, I get to do what I get to do, because you don't actually love me, woman. You're only here for my money. And I mean, that is kind of horrendous, right? To think about, like the idea of someone who is going to use what they have to get the woman that they want, and then kind of be abusive, maybe not physically abusive, but in not just their language, but even the way they talk about women, right? It is such a weird thing. But I wanted to put that against this clip, right? And remember, it was on the same podcast, and I'll make it big when it's time, that the roommate says when women are in love, they should be utterly dependent on a man. So here's the clip.
That's what you value in men. Men don't want that in women. Because the reality of the matter is, when a woman is really turned on by a man, when a woman is really in love with a man, when she really respects him, she becomes utterly dependent upon him because she does not want him to leave.
So here's what I don't like.
All right. So that is very important. I juxtapose that specific video against the one we are watching because it is important. It is important because if you couple those two videos together, what you get is from the same podcast, so different guests coming on, what you get is men saying women should not be independent. They should be utterly dependent on the man they love. And the man should be the provider and women should like relinquish their independence, right? This is what you have Fizz explained. Now couple that with the fact that there is this other guy coming on saying, oh yeah, by the way, when a man is the provider and the woman is dependent on the man, that man gets to do whatever he wants because the woman is being taken care of. Now, if you think about this, if the woman has independence and can take care of herself, the woman does not need the man to take care of her in that way. And so to the extent that she's there out of probably some other reason outside of financial resources. If financial resources is all these men have to offer and you go and cheat, that woman does not have to stay. And so I understand now why these men are like so obsessed with women relinquishing independence. Like, that is bizarre, because what you're saying is, I am going to cheat and you're not going to go anywhere because you need me financially. Okay, this is true. If women do relinquish their independence, this is what you have to look forward to for some of these men. Thankfully, not all of these men, all of the manhood is like this. And I'm going to close today by, apparently you shouldn't say close in YouTube realm because people click off, so go ahead and click off, because I'm gonna say I'm gonna close today by talking about Lizzo, right, and the manosphere. And I'm gonna not do a long video on this. It was supposed to be its own video, but I decided, again, when it comes to Oshay Duke Jackson, I don't want to give him that kind of space on, not just on my channel and in my mental space, but in terms of you guys, because he doesn't have the range to do a lot of these discussion ultimately, but I think a lot of people watch him for his comedic value, so I'm not going to be too upset with him on this. So here's what he had to say about Lizzo, and I'm going to talk about kind of the contradiction that exists in the manosphere.
We all know that Lizzo's quite popular, so we're not going to discount that. And whoever this young man is, he's a young man that has, you know, obviously no money in comparison to her, no fame in comparison to her. If Lizzo is to mess with a man like this, she will be paying his bills, okay? He can't afford no secluded island, I'm pretty sure. And if he could, he wouldn't take her. That is what Lizzo is going to be relegated to.
Let me just summarize, because I don't want to watch anymore, and a commercial just popped up, and I can't. Lizzo is going to be relegated, because of her weight based on Oshay Duke Jackson, right? Is going to be relegated to having to take care of a man, because these men that she's with don't have the fame and power that she does. By the way, we don't know who this man is, who Lizzo is with on the beach, so we don't actually know that that's true, but assume that it is. What is the difference between what Lizzo would be expected to be doing in terms of providing and what these men are? These women aren't with you because you're beautiful men, right, who are wealthy. These women are with you because you articulated that you're high value and you have money and can provide. So you are going to be relegated to the person who provides. And when your money runs out, they're going to leave. Like, this notion that women can't be high value is weird to me, right? Because what you're saying is that if a woman is a provider, then that is a problem. Now, again, we can talk about gender roles here, but where a man is a provider, it's fine because that's what we are used to and that's the natural order of things. But the truth is, like, let's just try for a second to step away from gender roles and let's talk about the truth. Most of these men who have a ton of money, rappers for example, a lot of women would not look twice in their direction, the women that they have, right? So the reason they are there is they are paying to be with these women. That's why Birkins and all of it is all over social media now. You are paying to be with this woman, but we as a society have accepted that, well, it's okay for men to do this, right? And Lizzo, to the extent that someone is with her for her money, is doing the same thing that these women are doing to these men. But the manosphere covers this as if it's some kind of detriment to her. And then we tell these men that, oh, you can be overweight, you can be all this kind of random stuff. As long as you have money, you can have a woman because women aren't visual. Well, apparently women are visual because if Lizzo is paying to be with a younger, fit man, then she too is visual, right? And you pointing out that she is visual doesn't do anything but dismiss the argument in the manosphere that women aren't visual. Women are with men because some of them prioritizes financial resources over being with someone that they're sexually attracted to. I don't judge. I don't have a problem with that. Similarly, there are men who are going to... Also, by the way, Lizzo would be seen as extremely hot in Jamaica, just FYI. So this notion that if you are overweight, if you have, people in Jamaica call it fluffy, right? Like there's not the kind of disdain for it, just Just FYI. But even if there is a disdain for it, and we are in the culture that does, and she is allowed through her finances to have access to men who can, I don't know, provide for, she's going to provide for, and they're going to be there with him. It is the same thing that these men are doing. Now, you can have a problem with the gender roles, but you don't get to say women aren't visual, because clearly some women are. In any case, I'm going to end it there. I think that was enough. I talked for too long. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you again later. Bye.